I made some rules and put them on the poster so we can all remember them, okay? So I'll say them first. So the rules when we're together are we stick together. What does stick together mean? Does it mean we're stuck? What does it mean when we stick together?
Buddies.
We're buddies, okay.
As a team.
We work as a team. What else when we stick together? We don't leave anybody out. That is a good thing. Sometimes that happens. Okay, the next rule is.
We get to use hand signals.
So
Gotta
what's
make
the-
up our
So how about this one for stick
together.
Okay. Next one is no hurts. What does no hurts mean? Don't hit anybody. That'd probably be a good idea.
Don't say mean words.
Don't say mean words, because mean words can hurt too. That's right. What else means no hurts? Okay, what about does it hurt if Stephanie and I are friends but you're not? Is that a hurt? That's kind of hurt, isn't it?
Or if you guys are talking.
Yeah.
Right.
And we don't let Kodi
Right.
talk. That's a hurt, right? So what's a hand signal? So we've got stick together. What's a no hurt sign? Just a no hurts. Okay. And the last rule is have fun. Okay, so we're gonna have fun together today. Okay, so stick. What's the word?
Stick
Together. No hurt. Have fun. Okay. Well, I think we're going to do that today. So, good. Well, I wanted to ask you guys, has anybody seen the movie Dumbo? It's been a long time for some of us. Dumbo, the elephant with the ears. Yeah. And what did Dumbo have? Did anybody remember that made him feel? He had big ears. And there was a magic something. Do you know?
He could fly with his
He
ears.
could fly. What did he feel like he had to have when he flew? Does anybody remember? That movie's been a long time ago. He had a magic feather. Remember that?
Right.
Yeah, when Dumbo had the magic feather, he felt like he was what? Strong and brave and maybe a little magical because he had his magic feather and he could fly when he had his magic feather. So today I've got this is my magic feather and it is pretty cool. But when I have this magic feather, it kind of makes me feel, I don't know how to make it stop, but when I have this, it makes me feel a little magical and a little bit brave. And so I have a question I want to ask you guys today, and you can hold this when it's your turn to answer the question, and I think it might make you feel a little braver to answer the question, okay? So I'm going to ask the question, and then somebody can volunteer, and they can hold the magic feather, and then we'll all take turns answering the question, okay? So the question today is, what was your very favorite birthday? And why was it your very favorite birthday? Who wants to go first? They can have the magic feather. You'll go first, okay?
Turn it on.
You can.
Let me start it. I remember. Oh my God, I didn't do that. I remember one year. My brother and I are just 11 months apart, so we're close in age. That my mom surprised us and had a joint slumber birthday party. I thought that would be super. I don't know how old we were little, like it wasn't not appropriate. But like our friends were all hiding somewhere. So I think my brother's friends were on the boxes somewhere. We came in and they all came out, and my friends were somewhere else in the house and they came out. So it was fun because we didn't ever do a whole lot. I mean, we would celebrate my birthday with a cake, but we didn't ever have big parties. She didn't have big parties with friends. So I know my mom, she doesn't love big gatherings, so I know she, doesn't make
She
sure work
did
to
it
make
for
that
you.
happen.
Yeah. Okay, who's next? Very favorite birthday?
Does it have to be a childhood birthday?
It can be any birthday that you want.
I have one.
Turn on for a minute. don't have a lot of really great memories. I have more kind of birthdays didn't go well, or something kind of bad happened, relationship with friends, and then as I became a parent, like my firstborn, we couldn't even sing happy birthday to her because she shut down. So birthdays aren't always a fun memory.
A happy thing for you.
Mhm.
Birthday. Do you have a birthday kind of like Sean that you would like to have someday?
I don't really like surprises.
Don't really like
No.
Huh, okay.
So not a surprise birthday. I don't
Not a
know.
surprise.
No. I don't know.
Okay, write that down.
Yeah.
No surprises.
All right.
April Fool's Day, that's not a fun thing for you.
No.
No.
That would not be.
Okay. Well, maybe you could be my partner then for this next thing that we're gonna do. Oh, everybody, most we had happy birthdays, but Cody's wasn't so happy, and maybe Sean's wasn't so happy. So I just wanted to give you a Band-Aid and say I'm sorry you didn't have a good birthday. Would you
Okay.
like to pick a band? Is it okay if I put a Band-Aid on you?
Sure.
I've got some camo Band-Aids and I've got some little heart Band-Aids. Which one would you like?
Probably camo over heart.
Camo. Okay. I hope you feel
I have
better.
another one.
You can have another one. Which
So
one
they
would
can
you
match?
like? Yeah, another camo.
Sure.
Okay. There you go. Okay. There you go. Is that feeling better there, honey?
Thank you.
Would you like to offer Lori a Band-Aid and see if she has a
Sure.
hurt anywhere? I've got 2 bowls. I'll pass one around. Why don't- Just ask the person next to you if they have a hurt that you could give a Band-Aid. It's totally okay if you don't have a hurt to say no thanks to a Band-Aid, or you can take a Band-Aid if you want.
Related to the birthday?
Well, I brought something today. I brought my check your engine. Now, I know your parents all have cars, and sometimes the car will tell us if it's going too fast, and you can hear the engine. What does the engine sound like when it's going too fast? It's going really high. And what does it sound like when the engine is just doing great? Just kind of purring along, right? And what about if the engine is just running so slow? Maybe put. Maybe something like that. Well, how's your engine running today? Is your engine running slow or just right, or is it running too hot?
So
How's
like
your
a
engine
turtle or a
today?
rabbit.
Yeah, like a turtle or like a rabbit, really, really fast. Does anybody feel like their engine is really, really fast right now? This is mellow. Is your engine running fast?
A little bit.
today?
It's getting into the red, probably.
Into the red, probably.
Was
right
this
now.
morning?
This morning it was. You know, you could do just real quick that you could do the magic mustache. Have you ever done the magic
What's that?
mustache? Well, magic mustache is this part right here, like right above your lip, and if you just push on that, it just kind of helps your engine slow down. And you know, suppose you were like in your class and you want anybody to know, you could even just kind of sit there and you could be thinking. You know, nobody would even know. It would help your engine slow down if you did that. Could try it.
Okay.
Let's see if that would help. Okay, so we'll check our engines. We'll just keep this around, and you think about it today while we play together. Think about it. Oh, you really needed your magic.
I'm trying to see if it's gonna work right now. I just got it.
So now so you're running just right.
No,
Not
I'm
yet?
running high.
You're running, okay.
I was slow this morning, which is interesting that I'm just
Now
in
it's
5 minutes
heated
on.
up.
Yeah.
So you that magic mustache will help. What's another thing that will help?
Calming down.
Calming
Taking
down.
deep-
If your engine's too fast,
taking deep breaths.
deep breaths, that could help. Yeah, that could be a big help. Well, I know we've been talking the last couple of weeks about how to be respectful and kind to other people. So we thought we'd play a game today. Are y'all up for a game?
Yeah.
A little role play.
A little role play.
Little role play.
Let's do a little role
Is
play.
it going to be fun?
It's
gonna be fun. Oh yeah, we can practice the
And
roles.
we are going to stick together. And we're
Sean
going to
wasn't
not
here
have
for the
any
or no,
hurts.
Lori wasn't here for the
Oh, okay. You need to review.
Let's do it for Lori.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so the first rule when we're all together like this is we're going to stick together. And there's going to be no hurts. And we're going to
Have fun.
Okay?
All right. So today we're going to talk about respect and showing respect to someone. And I'll ask, and if no one has an idea. So what's a good example that we can do to role play about showing disrespect? Somebody have one they want to do or act out. An example of showing disrespect. If not, I have one.
What about if you told me it was time to go to bed?
Time to go to bed. Okay. Do you want to do that with me?
Sure.
Okay, we can stand up. Okay. I'm gonna pretend like I'm on my. Because in role play you get to have fun, so we gotta move around a little bit and make sure we're having fun. So I'm gonna be on my screen.
Okay.
Am I the kiddo? Should I be?
You be the kid.
Are you the?
I'm
You're the mom and I'm the kid.
I'm the grown up.
Okay, you're the
Okay.
grown up. All right.
Okay, time for bed, Kodi. Kodi.
What?
That was awesome. No respect. Did you see that? Was that the best no respect? Okay. Let's have a do-over. This time, I'm going to tell you it's bedtime and you show me respect.
Okay.
Okay?
Do you want me to comply or not comply? See, this is the fun part, guys. We're gonna have fun. All right.
Okay. Kodi, bedtime, honey.
What?
Bedtime.
It's bedtime.
Uh-huh.
But I'm doing my screen.
Well,
I'm in the middle of the game and I can't pause it.
Well, would you like to compromise?
Okay, what's that?
Well, what would you think a compromise would be?
Well,
Because it's
I
bedtime.
need to die first before I can get off because it doesn't pause.
It doesn't pause.
Right.
Okay, so would a compromise be you need to die in the next 5 minutes?
I think I can die in the next
You
5
think you
minutes.
can do it in the next 5 minutes?
Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds okay.
Okay,
Sounds
that'll be
okay.
our compromise.
Okay.
5 minutes, I'm gonna set the timer. When the timer goes off, it's bedtime.
Okay, even if I haven't died.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
I can do that.
Okay,
Okay,
good.
all right.
Okay. Now what do you think? Was that respectful?
Yeah, except she probably died in that. I had this conversation.
That was a little too
Okay.
realistic.
Yeah, my kids. Okay, so now we're gonna take turns doing it, and since this is kind of fun, like, and we can be sassy and it helps us engage and have fun doing this. Do we want to do it like as a group and role play
Yeah.
as a group?
Let's just do it all together.
You do it all together, like in
Well,
pairs, or do we
in
want to
pairs.
get in front of each other and do it? Or
Let's
does
do it
anybody
in
want to
front of each-
perform? Does
I do
anybody
not
want
like
to
to
perform?
perform. I will
Okay.
need a lot of Band-Aids.
Yeah. Does anybody? Okay.
I'm with her.
Does anybody want to perform?
Who would like to be the skit?
Okay, great. Great. Okay. All right. So I'll stand up. Okay. So we need
Lori's been dying.
we need a parent or a caregiver, and then we need the child to determine the roles. So who wants to be the kid?
I'll be the kid.
Okay. And you want?
Showing respect and then we'll practice not showing.
So yes, and we always
Negative.
do the bad
Not.
behavior first, and then we do the good behavior, so we can make it right. All right. So you guys go with bad behavior, and then we'll role play it with good behavior. I'm gonna sit down.
Mom, I'm so hungry.
We just had dinner. We just ate.
I know, but I'm starving. I'm starving.
Eat. Not too much sugar. You're not gonna.
All I wanted to cookie was just weekend.
Have an apple. We got some apples.
No, I don't
Have
want an
apples.
apple. I had an apple at dinner. I want a cookie.
How some oranges?
No. I'm so hungry. I'm about to die.
Yeah.
I seriously am gonna die.
Too bad. Go to bed. No, but Judy would have thought that with her traffic and
So that one?
Okay. And yes. So yeah. So that's bad behavior, not. So there's no
She's kind of.
Yeah, my disrespect. Okay. Yeah. You need to up the disrespect, or you? Okay?
Yeah, I
would
mean,
get to-
Lori,
yeah.
I think we need to be temper tantrum.
Okay, there we go. We're gonna stick together, and she's gonna throw.
So when she asks for a cookie, tell her no.
Tell her no.
And I'm still disrespectful.
Be real disrespectful.
Okay.
This is the fun part.
Mom, I'm so hungry. I know it's bedtime, but I'm about to starve to death.
Laura, you
I want a cookie.
Laura,
Just give
you
me a
had a big
cookie.
dinner, sweetie. I'm so sorry, but you
Mom, I can't. I want a cookie. Give me a
I hear
cookie.
you. I hear you say you're hungry. I know you're hungry. I know.
No,
It's
give
very
me a
real to
cookie
you.
now. I'm not leaving this kitchen until you give me a cookie.
Okay, all right. So great. Okay, all right. Now do showing respect.
I still want a cookie though.
You still want to cook. You got to work that out.
Okay.
Mom, I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. I know we just had dinner, but can I have a cookie before I go to bed? I just need a cookie.
Oh, sweetie, you had such a big dinner. Are you sure? You're just
I'm growing. I
thirsty.
think I need a cookie.
Would you apple? Would that help? What's apple sound to you?
Well, maybe. But I really wanted a cookie.
I understand that. I like my sweets after dinner too. But hey, how about we compromise? Would you be okay with the apple now, and we'll make sure you get a cookie when you get home from school tomorrow? Would that be? Did you get some cookie?
Okay.
Would that be fair?
Yeah, that sounds okay.
You got a compromise in there and said yes,
good.
and not no. And, great job. Okay. All right. The next activity we're going to practice is we're going to do. All right. Oh yes. Okay. So we're going to show respect. Show disrespect. The word's a little different, but using a hula hoop in our personal space and our boundaries. So I'm going to need somebody to practice. Do you want to practice it with me?
Somebody else want to practice
Anybody
it
wanna-
in the play?
You don't have to do the hula hoop, just to hold it.
I'll hold your hula hoop.
Okay. All right. You can be the character. So we're going to practice showing respect to our bodies and our personal space and our boundaries, and kind of with different people that we interact with. So there's a difference between strangers and a friend, and then maybe a family member, so someone that you know. So we're going to do showing no respect to someone's personal space, the bubble. See here, we got the bubble. Okay, in America, bubbles are a little bit bigger, and in Europe, they get real small. All right, so let's practice. You can kind of jumping in, and thank you for doing that.
So
I'm
in
gonna
your
be
bubble?
I'm gonna be the kiddo. I'm gonna be a kid, and you're gonna be the person coming in, and you be the stranger, not showing respect to my space. Does that work? Okay. We're all on the same. Okay. All right. So, hi.
Hi, sweetie. How you doing?
Give her a hand. All over my space. Okay. All right. So this time we're gonna practice showing what you do, how a stranger shows good boundaries to someone. All right. So, hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good.
It's nice. That sure is a pretty necklace you have on.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. My mom gave it to me.
Oh, really? Does it have names of your
It
family
does.
members?
Actually, my kids' names would sound funny when I say my mom gave it to me.
That's really great.
Yeah. Okay.
It's nice.
It's nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Okay. Well done. All right. Does anybody else want to take a stab with me and do the acquaintance or kind of a friend? Anyone else want to play along? Trudy, you want to play along?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So you're going to be the acquaintance, or the someone you've known before.
Okay.
It's not a best friend, not a family member, but just in how. So I'm the kiddo, and I'm gonna come up to you and be like, "Hi, Miss Trudy.
Hey, sweetie, how are you, honey?
I'm great.
Good.
How are you?
I'm doing really
Good.
well. You're looking so darling today.
Yeah, thank you.
Well,
Oh, we're supposed to do it the bad way first. Okay, we gotta do a redo. Okay, whoops, we gotta redo this and try again. Okay, all right. Okay. Hi, Miss Trudy.
Hi, hon. How are you? It's so good to see you. Well, I'm just so glad to see you.
Yes, you too. Okay, all right. Yay for not showing respect personal boundaries.
Yeah.
Acquaintances. All right.
Okay.
So let's do it the right way.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, Miss Trudy. How are you
Sweetie,
today?
it's so good to see you.
Oh, yes, you too. It's so nice to see
Me
you.
too.
So good.
Good.
Good to see you. All right.
I know.
Okay, well done, Trudy.
Good.
Okay, now we need a family member or someone close to us. Anyone? Anyone want to be the person in the middle? Nope, no volunteers? What? Make a rule? Do you want to do one more with me, John? Or, okay, Lori, you want to do it?
Yeah, go
Either
for
way.
it.
Yeah, take a turn. All right, sticking together. Make it work. All right, so I'm going to be, do you want to be the kid or the parent? Or the, okay, you be the kid. All right. So you're a kiddo and you're coming up, and this is going to be someone that we know well, like really well, that we want in our space. And so they get a little, we have a relationship, we've got a lot of trust built, and so the respect is already there. So coming in for a little bit more closer touch is appropriate. All right. So we do it the bad way.
Oh, the bad way.
Yeah, how would the bad way? Now am I thinking, I need help. Y'all got to stick together and help me out, because I'm trying to think of the bad way.
Well, the bad way would be if you weren't responsive.
That's true. Okay. Okay. Yes. All right. Here we go. Hi, Kodi. Hi. Hi. Okay. Yay. All right. All right. Okay. And let's practice the other way.
Wouldn't that be funny if, I mean, it wouldn't be funny.
Would not
if
be
your
funny.
It happens. Did that.
I know.
It happens to you.
Or a great example to do this is to you. You're the child, and I'm gonna be the parent, and I'm gonna be here on my phone, which I don't have because I'm put it up to show respect to the group. So just so we can stick together. So I'm gonna be on my phone. Let's do it the bad way again. I'll be on my phone.
Okay.
So.
Hey, Mom. Hey.
I don't have time for this right
You
now.
gotta hear what happened to me at school today, though. I just
Oh,
got home and
I
something
need 5
just
minutes.
happened
This
in the
is
bus.
more important on
But
my
Mom,
phone.
you gotta
Can't
hear
do it.
that.
I can't do it. I gotta stick
Mom.
with this. Okay.
Ouch.
Okay.
Get her a
So
bad
yeah,
day.
that was good again. All right. Okay. All right. Let's do it the right way, so I can. Yeah, we can practice with the phone too, with the mom coming. So, all right. Okay. I'm still the mom.
Mom, hey.
Hey, I wanted to tell you something happened on the bus.
Oh, but I haven't seen you all day. Can I get a hug first?
All right. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that great hug. Okay, so come sit by me and tell me all about it. Okay. All right. Great job.
That was so good.
Yes. And you get used to them. It's really fun being the bad behavior. It's really fun. Okay, the next activity we're going to do today in our nurture group is going to be feeding each other. Okay, so whenever we in nurture groups together, we're going to feed each other before we close. And I'm going to demonstrate this with Miss Trudy. I got to go in between adult and kid. You can tell my language and my tone. I'm not sure who I am today. All right, so we've got plates here. I'm going to ask you if I can feed you, and then you get to take a turn, and you guys can kind of see how it works, and then you all get to do it together. All right. So, hi Trudy, how are you?
I'm good.
Sorry, I have something in my mouth. It's not gonna taste very good. All right. I have this plate of gummies, and I would love to feed one to you. Can I feed you?
Can we do a pretend? Because I really like gummies.
I actually understand. Okay. Yes, pretend.
Okay.
Okay. So you want to hold the straw though?
You can hold the straw.
Okay. And what color gummy would you?
Pretend to like.
Okay. It's green like straw. So okay. Ah. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And this is yours.
Okay.
Respecting her germs. All right.
I've got some great gummies here. Can I give you one today?
Oh, those look really, really good.
Yes, they do. Let me hold the plate.
Oh,
Over
okay.
here. Try
I'll
to
hold
hold
that.
it just a
Okay.
minute.
All right, I'm being a kid.
Which color would you like?
Purple and red.
Purple and
No,
red.
purple and red straws.
Okay, I got a purple straw.
But I want purple and red.
We just can pick one today. Which one would you like?
Okay, well I'll go with a purple straw because I can get a red gummy.
Good. That is great. Okay, here you go. Are you ready?
Yes, it's going to pretend to not eat it because I don't want to not either. Or to maybe be the kids. Just pretend like I eat it. Okay, alright.
There you go.
That's really good. Whoa, can I have another? That was so good. It tasted like fruit punch.
I know. Just have a one today.
Okay. I think that's a good idea. Okay.
Okay, so take that and ask the partner.
Can we each one?
You Sorry.
So I need to do it with you. I'll do it with you. You got it. So how did that feel? Feeding each other, and this is the first time we've done it, so we'll talk a little bit.
Kind of weird.
It's kind of weird.
I tasted to have someone feed you.
It is kind of intimate.
It is kind of intimate. Yeah, those are great words and great examples of. Yeah. Did anybody like it?
I enjoyed my gummy bear.
Yes. Did anybody feel like kind of had that I want to do this?
I preferred feeding myself,
Okay.
but I didn't mind feeding
Someone else.
Oh.
So taking care of someone else, but it was harder for someone else to take care of you. Take care of you. Great. Well, thank you guys for coming to Nurture Group today. We're so glad that everyone was here with us. We just want to go back over the rules. So does somebody want to do the rules for us? And then we'll all do it together.
Stick together.
Stick together. No hurts. And have fun. Okay, let's give us all a hand. Woo! Great job in our nurture groups. So, and then we're going to kind of not end the session, but we're going to end our playtime. And then and we want to just kind of talk about what we did. Now that you guys gotten to experience it, we wanted you to experience nurture groups before we talked about them. So you guys would have that internal
That's what that was about.
feeling. Yes, internally feel what we just did, and it helps you come from the child's lens, because now you know what it's like when you're doing this with them.
So we set the stage by giving some boundaries at first with the rules, and we tried to make the rules fun and have some body movement with them. So we had some rules, we had some muscle memory with activity like that, just so we could remember them.
Some kids really like to make up different ones. You know, some groups you might have where they're stuck, and then other ones are,
Yeah.
I don't know, they want to
They
turn
want
around when they have
whole
fun.
body
Whole
movement.
body movement. And maybe that group needs whole body movement.
Uh-huh.
Like that's what they need. Yeah.
So we set some ground rules. We did a check-in, and the check-in was just a quick question for everybody to answer. We're grown-ups, so ours kind of got a little long, and we have several lists that will give you lots of different questions, but just a quick check-in question. The check-in question is for several different purposes, but mainly to check in, but also to tell you maybe who needs a little extra in the group. There's one example of a kid comes to the group, and he's just been catching a hurt baby squirrel on the playground, and the other kids have made fun of him because the squirrel pooped on everything or something, you know, and everybody made fun of him. And so as the leader of the group, it's an opportunity for you in check-in to ask the question of, what's your very favorite thing to do? And then you can say, well, you know, I really love animals. I just love it when I can have, be around baby animals or do something with animals. Just makes me feel so good. And so you've just identified, you've answered the question, but you've identified with the person who has been persecuted, recently, and you've drawn them in a way. So the check-in time is a time to check in, but also a time to see what's happening in the group.
And you're not manipulating, you're just
Yeah.
trying to bring something up that can be discussed. And if you're doing this in a family setting, it's a great time to pick something that it might be a child is struggling with, but you don't want to single the child out. So if they're having a hard time with asking, using their words with respect, like we just talked about, then you can practice that, like in a family setting, whatever is going on. If it's screen time, So you can bring that into the nurture group, and it's a great place to explore that without singling, you know, or if you're not having any luck with one-on-one discussion about it, bring it and let them learn in a different way.
The check your engine is something that goes on in every nurture group. Everybody checks their engine to see where they are. It's interesting to me that kids will identify for somebody else. Oh, yeah, you know, you are
Happens in
here.
my
You
house
know?
a lot.
That kind of thing. How's your engine? But it also gives you language for the rest of the time when you're with kids, thinking about at the neighborhood kid group. You know, how's your engine, babe? You know, let's think of a way to get your engine, you know, maybe back into the green zone right now, because you'll be able to hear better and, you know, lots of things. So just some language that everybody can use, and we can make these at group or whatever. So it's an easy way to.
The one that usually stands out is the kiddo that's running in red. You know, but I have a turtle at home. We actually call her Turtle sometimes. And she jokes. I mean, it's a fun thing that we talk about. But, you know, that's the kiddo that's when we talked about the sensory processing stuff that's going on and some sensory needs. Like if they're always running in blue and it takes them they're a low energy, it takes them a lot to get them going. You know, you've got to get them out on the trampoline. You've got to get them active, get their bodies moving a little bit more. So that might be, if you've got a kid in nurture group, that you kind of ask to kind of stand up and move with you and get them going so their brain can start kind of thinking through things. So
language together, and then helping to self-identify where you are, check where you are.
So you would do that right in the group for that time, just kind of like you were doing the magic mustache.
Yeah, that was just came up as a coping. If your engine is running fast, hey, just this for a minute, you know, and then just giving them a tool.
And some of the sensory things like hand push-ups.
Hand push-ups, hold up the wall, push the wall.
So that would help
something
for
that would
the
happen
low.
right now.
Okay.
Or the high.
Or the high.
I mean, really both. And it's a great time to remember, you can talk about it. We're going to stick together, and
So let's all
this
go.
kiddo's having sometimes you may just need to say, Joey's having a hard time. We're all going to stick together and we're going to go push on the wall. Or if you don't want to bring attention because that might make it worse, then you just know, like, we got to stop. You say, we're going to stick together, we're going to have a little fun, and we're going to go march around the room 3 times or push the
Something
wall.
like that, you know.
So,
So, and then how's our engines? You know, then after that, we usually work on, do the Band-Aid, which is a way that, what do you think the Band-Aid was doing? Yeah. The Band-Aid was giving and receiving care. So, I mean, that's something we all want to develop in our kids is empathy. And we also want them to be able to identify, yeah, I am having a kind of a crappy day. I really, you know, so you ask them, is your hurt on the inside or is your hurt on the outside? Can I give you a Band-Aid? I mean, Lori didn't need a Band-Aid today, but I asked her if she wanted one to take home, you know, because she might need one later. So it's just, again, a way for our kids to start going, it's okay for me to say, yeah, I've got a hurt today. I got yelled at school, or somebody did this or whatever, to say that, and then to receive some care. I'm sorry, I'm gonna give you a Band-Aid, you know. And of course in our groups we would take the next step further, that we don't as we talk about it, but we would take it, let me pray for you, you know.
Right.
And you know, we take it the next step, but maybe right at first
And you might know
we're not
later,
ready for
or
that.
you might know later, you take that kiddo aside,
Yeah.
and you can, like Sean shared about his birthdays,
Yeah.
you know, hey, let's
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit more later.
Or it's culturally inappropriate to do anything but, hey, I'm sorry.
Right.
You know. So everybody does that. Everybody learns to give and receive some care with a Band-Aid. Kids love Band-Aids. I mean, what's more fun than having a camo Band-Aid? You know, getting to choose a heart one. So you get to choose. You can say yes or say no. It's a totally, you know, give and receive care is the opportunity to give and receive care. So if you don't need any today or you don't want any today, that's okay too. But you just saw it modeled, and we're going to do it every week when we have nurture group. And so
That consistency, the
Yeah.
kids know what to expect when they come in, and you're
Yeah.
building those relationships. Yeah.
So then after we've kind of settled in a group, then we're going to have an activity, basically the teaching activity. And today the teaching activity was learn how to give respect. So we're going to make it playful and fun by doing it bad.
Yes, that's the fun part. That's the way, you always want to do that bad behavior first because it's silly and encouraging you guys to like be super silly. Like when I first started doing this, I didn't want to do it at all. Like I was like, I don't want to be the one that they call on. And now I'm like, oh, it's really fun to show disrespect and you can be the sassy kid. And most of us can think of an example that we can do when we're doing it. But the playfulness and when you engage them and get them into that playful, it gets them, it reduces the fear and increases felt safety and all those things that we talked about so that they can be able to build relationship and trust and all that's going on. And if they're laughing, that's definitely happening.
So the memory that they've made is, so when I go home and mom says this or something happens in my home, I know it's disrespect. I know what disrespectful looks like. I also know what respectful looks like. So it'll happen at home. So we pick things that are happening in their lives so that they can see. And then
the feeding, that were you going to?
well, we would just take it. Then we would take the next step further. For instance, in the neighborhood group, could say, this is what you do for your mom or your teacher or your, the next person. From a funny place,
yes,
that takes it to the next step deeper. So.
And then the feeding is really good. You asked about, remind me your question that you asked, or John L. asked. You both had great questions.
About kids that struggle with germs and.
Yes, so the feeding is a great time to talk about, the giving and receiving care. Like we talked about, it feels kind of weird, it feels kind of wonky. There's actually someone that might be watching this videotape that does not like to be fed and he has a boundary, and that's not going to work. But you can see how disarming it is. It's disarming to have somebody trying to feed you. And so it's okay, and what we're trying to help them establish is that autonomy and that self-autonomy to use their voice and their words and say, I'm not okay with that. But instead of saying, no, I'm not going to do that, let's try that with some respect. Let's use some good words. And, you can say, well, can you try that again? And they kind of shut down. And, they have the choice. You give them that control. Because it's okay. Right. And as long as they're showing respect and using good words and nurture group, we want to affirm that and give them the pass and let them kind of negotiate their needs. So then and that's part of their negotiating their needs because they start to realize that did feel weird. Why didn't I like that? So it kind of goes into those meaningful relationships. And we've talked about that, how do we provide care for kids from hard places, and our goal is to teach them and to help them learn meaningful relationships, trust-based relationships. And so all these things, the giving, receiving care, and it helps them practice autonomy and start to feel that empowerment and negotiating their own needs. And you asked me a great question, I can't remember what it was now.
That might have
It
been
was feeding.
Janelle's mother.
What was that one?
Why did we eat?
Okay, and that was, so why did we do that? Why is it so important? And, but I think it goes back to what we just talked about, because it's such an intimate, and if you go back to baby, and you're going back to attachment, and what we're trying to help our kids fill in the holes and the gaps that they missed in attachment, that is the first, the caregiver and the mom and the baby and the attachment, and giving and receiving care going forward. And a lot of us are really good at giving care, but receiving can be a little bit harder to do. It's a practice skill, it's a learned skill.
It's a learned skill in that. And the good thing is most of the kids want what we're offering, and so they'll want to receive, and then the practice that I think is good for them is to give it to somebody else, to fill somebody else's need. And so it's great practice. They'll, most of the time, it won't be like us going, oh, I don't want one. They'll want it and want four,
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like what I was messing around doing with her. No, I really want one.
I really want, and so you ask, can we have a compromise? Let's do this. Because everybody, wants one.
And
And
we'll
so-
talk a little bit later, but you know, that whole structure, nurture, that kind of dance that we do, because we want to, if they use their voice and ask for it, we want to meet that need, but we've also got to provide that structure, because as you can see in a group, if we were like, sure, you can have some, then you're going to have 10 other kiddos
Yeah.
that are me. So we, as the adults and the caregiver, have to provide that structure to kind of help them. And
Yeah.
accepting no, and then they have to learn. That's another
Yeah.
life skill you can practice, is accepting no when you do say no.
So,
One thing we did talk, I don't think we touched on, was when you have the kid that's really dysregulated in your group and is having a really hard time, like, what do you do with them? What do you do with that kiddo in a nurture group? Because they're distracting. Like, what do you think you'd do?
So I consider my lap.
Would you wanna put 'em-
maybe they needing some.
So I wouldn't say on my lap,
On-
because
right.
we don't, you know, maybe, right, but, no, I know, we get, you know, in
Yeah.
church
Yeah.
ministry, you get used to
Yeah.
just bring them right here at the age, but, yeah, just saying, you wanna come sit next to me, and then if you can even give them a job, like if you've got, you know, you don't wanna give them this, cause that's probably not gonna go real well, but, you know, if they've got Band-Aids, they could fidget, like, can you hold on to the Band-Aids until it's time to go on the next, and give them a job, and I've experienced, I don't know about you, but when I've done that in nurture groups, they calm down, cause they're here,
So what age group are you targeting with nurture groups?
and nurture groups can go with any age, from little teeny tinies all the way through to high school. They,
the teenagers like to
the
role
teenagers love to role play.
Mhm.
They also love Band-Aids. The thought in nurture group is you want to dysregulate a little bit and then bring it back.
play.
So that acting out and the skill is, okay, we're dysregulating, now let's bring it back. And so you're teaching that skill, you know, as you go too. So just depending on your activity, whatever the big storyline is, I'm teaching you that yes, it can be fun and playful and we're laughing and that kind of thing. Come back, let's talk about that, you know, so take it out, bring it back, take it out, bring
So you're
it
wanting
back.
to teach that regulation, and so that they go from
Mhm.
dysregulation to co-regulation, where we're helping them, and then to the self-regulation.
So you may do this again. Wow, where's our engine?
You can pull this up at any time. Yeah, that's great.
Ooh.
And it's called core group when you're an adult, right?
So I'll just review the 8
Yeah.
tenets. Okay, so there are 8 tenets of nurture groups, and I think we've covered them. But that disorder precedes order, disorganization precedes reorganization. So remembering the developmental model, what you do with the newborns, kind of like going back, that why we do the receive care. The highlights that I like: we give children nurture when they need structure. We damage their ability to grow and mature. However, if we give structure when they need nurture, we damage their ability to connect and trust. So we're always kind of looking for that balance.
Working for both.
And the goal to success is to ask for what the child is capable of giving. So talking about where we set the bar, we talked about that, like lowering the bar, or well, that's backwards, lowering and raising the bar, and kind of meeting the needs of where that kiddo is and being mindful of that. And that's our job to kind of work through. Sharing power. Did anyone feel like they shared some power? Giving them some control, like we talked about, giving control. And we talked, if a child's playing and laughing, they can't be afraid. Talk about the disarming of the fear. And children learn to respect others' property because they have their own choices, possessions, and things that have to be respected. So that's huge. Learning that skill. And seeds for change are planted during nurture groups. Do you guys felt like some seeds were planted and things are sticking a little bit better after going through the exercise? So that's what we want our kids to feel. And children choose the journey and adults choose the destination. It's a really good one to remember.
So there's a plan for nurture group because you guys are all grown-ups. The plan carried out pretty well. It might not always be so in your neighborhood groups or whatever, but you've gotten somewhere. You've moved somewhere down the road, and this is a very adaptable model, you know, to move forward. It's got moving parts, and it's adaptable for whatever group that you're in. Think about Trinidad, you know, how that group,
Yeah.
how that could work in your groups. So,
And it's great for families. And I have,
We usually do it with techniques.
With Nikos, we don't, this is something that we want to try and implement more because we don't get that opportunity to really sit down and talk like listening groups. So we moved more this last time into like a tent time, being able to talk and really encourage counselors right at nighttime, and then we have a break during the afternoon, right after lunch, right at the heat of the day, and everyone's on their butts.
Think about
and
10
we just
times.
talk and do different things. This, I think, will work really well during that transition.
It's a great time to pick something that you see, like you talked
Yeah.
about, and kind of bring it in. If it's something they're struggling with, or
Yeah.
can be really intentional. And we did talk about that, but if you pick up on something, like is if it's in a camp setting, if you're the
Yeah.
counselor, or there's buddies, or if you have that type of thing going on, you can listen in, and it's not like in a manipulative way or trying to pry, but you can pick up on some things and be aware of kind of what's going on and follow up on it later. So, all right, any more questions?
Any questions? I've got a handout for you that has just this basic model, and it gives you some suggestions for questions and that kind of thing. And I also have some teaching time we could do on. I know we tried at the end of the year last year, but I think we could do it, spend a little more time talking about nurture groups to feel comfortable. But this is the basic model, and I think it's proven doable.
Yeah, it's great. My sister's an OT, and
Uh-huh.
they do a lot of groups with all sorts of eating disorders and this and that. And it's the same sort of premise. It's what do we have in common? What is something that we're struggling with? And it's like Bible study. It's like whole groups. And it just for me, it's a model that works.
And this stick together, no hurt.
It's a great.
Have fun comes from TheraPlay, which is actually, that's part of it,
Yeah,
I
it's
believe.
an
Yep,
OT
it's from OT, from TheraPlay, that other therapists have used in that whole stick together.
There's
no
such a
hurt.
power in group setting.
Yeah.
So,
And this feels disarming too. And people that didn't want to do whatever didn't have to do it, but you still got the experience and the modeling of the give and
everyone's
take.
watching.
Yeah, everybody's watching. So
I think what's good about it is
I like nurture group.
Number two.
Well, I'm going to hand you this. Are we going to take a break for a
Yeah, we can
minute?
have a quick break.
5 minutes?
Are we going to be on the floor again?
No.
Or we're
Not.
Okay.
We're
Somebody's got to eat these gummies too.
I have a question.